Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. नाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। We are reading from Canto 10, Chapter 74, text 6 to 15. So, verse number 6 is there on the board, so we should recite verse number 6 and then read the translations of till 15. Sri Shuka Uvacha Iti Yuktva Yagye Kale Vavre Yuktan Sarutvija Krishnana Modita Pado Brahmanan Brahmavadina. Sri Shuka Uvacha Iti Yuktva Yagye Kale Vavre Yuktan Sarutvija Krishnana Modita Pado Brahmanan Brahmavadina. Sri Shuka Uvacha Iti Yuktva Yagye Kale Vavre Yuktan Saritvija Krishnanamodita Pado Brahmanan Brahmavadina. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Shukadeva Goswami said, Iti, thus, Uktva, speaking, Yagye, appropriate for the sacrifice, Kali, at the time, Vavri, chose, Yuktan, suitable, Sahaha, he, Ritvija, sacrificial priest, Krishna, by Lord Krishna, Anumodita, sanctioned, Partha, the son of Vruda Yudhishthir, Brahmanan, Brahmanas, Brahma, of the Vedas, Vadina, expert authorities, translation and purport by disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Shukadeva Goswami said, having said this, King Yudhishthir waited until the proper time for the sacrifice was at hand. Then, with Lord Krishna's permission, he selected suitable priests, all expert authorities on the Vedas, to execute the sacrifice. Purport. The great Bhagavatam commentator, Srila Sridhar Swami explains that the proper time for the sacrifice mentioned here was the spring. Text 7 to 9. He selected Krishna Dvaipayana, Bharadwaja, Subantu, Gotama, and Asita, along with Vasishta, Chavana, Kanva, Maitreya, Kavasha, Trita. He also selected Vishwamitra, Vamadeva, Sumati, Jaimini, Kratu, Paila, and Parashar, as well as Garga, Vaishampayana, Atharva, Kashyapa, Dhaumya, Rama of the Bhargavas, Asuri, Vitihotra, Madhuchanda, Veerasena, and Akritavrana. Purport. King Yudhishthir invited all these exalted Brahmanas to act in different capacities as priests, advisors, and so on. 10 to 11. O King, others who were invited included Drona, Bhishma, Kripa, Dhritarashtra with his sons, the wise Vidura, and many other Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, all eager to witness the sacrifice. Indeed, all the kings came there with their entourages. The Brahmana priests then plowed the sacrificial ground with golden plowshares and initiated King Yudhishthir for the sacrifice in accordance with the traditions set down by standard authorities. The utensils used in the sacrifice were made of gold, just as in the ancient Rajasya performed by Lord Varuna, Indra, Brahma, Shiva, and many other planetary rulers. The Siddhas and Gandharvas with their entourage, the Vidyadharas, the great serpents, sages, yakshas, rakshasas, celestial birds, kinnaras, chanaras, and the earthly kings, all were invited. Indeed, they all came from every direction to the Rajasuya sacrifice of King Yudhishthir, the son of Pandu. They were not in the least astonished to see the opulence of the sacrifice, since it was quite appropriate for a devotee of Lord Krishna. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir was universally famous as a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and thus nothing was impossible for him. Text 16. Translation. The priests, as powerful as gods, performed the Rajasuya sacrifice for King Yudhishthir in accordance with the Vedic injunctions, just as the demigods had previously performed it for Varuna. Umakyanatimirandasya Gananjanashalakaya Chikshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitan Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pri Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudodaye Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonado Hare Krishna. So in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing that how Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas, they have glorified Krishna in a very unique way. And so the whole endeavor, if we see, uh, uh, the whole endeavor is to make Yudhishthira as the emperor. The whole endeavor is uh, which has been undergone and which is being under, which is taking, is it's all centered about around making Yudhishthira as the emperor of the world. However, Yudhishthira is very clear in his, as far as his consciousness goes, that he wants to make, he is enthroning himself as emperor of the world, but he is very clear that he wants to offer Agra Puja to Krishna, and therefore he is doing this service. So it's very interesting to observe, it's an interesting observation that how Yudhishthira himself is accepting so much puja in order to be able to offer, in order to be able to glorify Krishna. It's very ironical. Yudhishthira, who is happy, later on we'll see when he goes to Vanavas, he was so happy, he was sitting under a tree, sleeping under a tree, and and all the brahmanas were reciting Vedic hymns, and he was peacefully sleeping under a tree. And when Bhima and Draupadi were there, they couldn't tolerate. They said, "Arey, how you are so peacefully sleeping? You know, you should have some. At least you should have some Kshatriya blood. You know." So Bhima, it is said that when he used to walk, sparks used to come out of his head. So, but Yudhishthir, he was so peacefully sleeping under a tree. Draupadi was also very, she was feeling the wrath of and anger of the Kauravas so heavily, intensely. So she could not also digest it. But Yudhishthir was so peaceful. So, such peaceful Yudhishthir, now here, he is accepting the puja in order to be able to glorify Krishna. So so the devotees are, in that sense, they are all, so they know how to glorify Krishna. Devotee is one who knows how to glorify Krishna, and he knows uh, how not to be a prey of Maya, like that. Because the subtler than uh, Sri Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, it says that na dhanam, na janam, na sundari, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. So devotee prays that I don't want dhanam, I don't want janam, I don't want sundari. So more subtler than attachment for money and woman is attachment for pratishtha. Because it is very, especially for sadhakas, it's very easily available. And firstly, and secondly, we can't even make a distinction so easily. And if we are at, if a woman is attracted to man or a man is attracted to woman, they can make a distinction that I'm attracted, so it's not appropriate for me to be attracted. But as far as pratishtha is concerned, we don't so easily make a distinction also, because we do not know whether this, I am attracted to this, is it because I am wanting to offer it to Krishna, or is it because of myself, attachment to myself, my own ego. So therefore it becomes tough for us devotee to sadhaka to understand only. Therefore it's considered more subtler. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in his commentary to Gundicha Marjanam, he says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initially cleaned the whole Gundicha. After cleaning the Gundicha, he made it a second cleaning. And when he did a second cleaning, uh, 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 he cleaned it in such a way that water from the second cleaning, it poured through the streets of Gundicha. When it poured through the streets of Gundicha, the whole, temple was clean and the streets were also very clean. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writes a long purport where he says that first cleaning is the cleaning of gross anarthas. Second cleaning is the cleaning of subtler anarthas. Subtler anathas include puja, la, pratishtha and all that. So like that he says. And so then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati goes on to say that if the subtler anarthas are not cleansed, then it is inevitable that the gross anarthas will also come through very soon. Because there is a passage which is there. So like that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says. So, but here Yudhishthira is very intelligent. He knows how to glorify Krishna and at the same time not be conditioned by the by any anarthas whatsoever. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is so dramatic in his explanation of attachment to puja la pratishtha. He says that it is the stool of a boar, like that he says. Now it is said, one time one sannyasi was explaining, amongst all the stools, the most obnoxious stool is stool of a boar. And then he went on to graphically explain why is it so. And he said in the place where they used to stay, in the ashram where they used to stay, so nearby there is a barn where there used to be hogs staying. You know, so when the hogs they all stay there, so they when they go, they all go and pass stool in some particular place. So because this sannyasi had heard about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati repeatedly, again and again, so he went and smelt that stool, how it actually smells. It's so obnoxious. The stool in itself is obnoxious. And Borg it takes that stool, consumes that stool. So it is like recycled stool of that stool. And it is accumulated in some place. And he went and smelt that in order to be able to experience what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says. Something like that, we'll not be able to understand probably. So, yeah, it's like that. But, that's how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains it. We'll not be able to understand in the sense because we don't understand that how obnoxious it is. Therefore, we'll not be able to understand it. So, but sure enough, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had very clearly and very graphically and very dramatically explained how it is how it is an obstacle for a sadhaka, puja la pratishtha, like that. But when it is offered to Krishna, it can uh, ultimately this whole world is meant to be offered for Krishna, and we can't not offer it also, because Yukta Vairagya is a very important principle. If we don't follow it, we don't have any other way. So we should learn to be able to offer it. The only way is to be able to learn to offer it. So how do we offer it? Bhagavad Gita tells in great detail. Uh, it anyway for all kinds of anarthas it explains. So Bhagavad Gita in verses 12.8 to 12 it explains that there are various levels of offering. How we can offer our how a sadhaka can surrender to Krishna. Best is that immediately one surrenders. Sarvadharman Parityajam. Prabhupada says, how long does it take for a devotee to surrender? What does Prabhupada say? 1 minute. Sarvadharman Parityajam Amekam. Immediately, 1 minute it takes. You heard that conversation? It takes only 1 minute to surrender. So, and then he goes on to say, if you have that faith and sincerity, within 1 minute you can surrender. So that is one level of surrender, highest level of surrender. Within 1 minute, immediately, one practices Bhagavad Vidhi. Immediately one starts chanting and here constantly remembering Krishna, and one is not attached to matter in any way. One is highly Krishna conscious. We see such examples. Ajamila is an example. Within 1 minute, he gave up all his material conditionings. Jagai Mata are examples. They were greatest of the sinners. Within 1 minute, they have given up all their anarthas and they have surrendered totally to Krishna. There is also Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the so basically we are discussing as to the material conditionings which we have within our heart. How do we handle them in a way that uh, that that our life becomes an offering to Krishna. So highest level is to surrender within a minute. There is also Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga yat karoshi yat ashnasi yat johosi dadasi yat tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever we do, whatever activities we do, whatever sacrifices we do it as an offering to Krishna. We offer the results to Krishna. So that is Karma Yoga. So Karma Yogis, they have that understanding that there is Krishna. If they are Krishna's devotees, if they are Krishna's devotees, then they have that understanding that there is Krishna. At the same time, I have my attachment. Jai Shri Nitai Gauranga ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So there is Krishna, and at the same time, I have my attachments as well. So therefore, Karma yogis also have this understanding. If they are genuine Karma yogis, then they have this understanding that Nishkinchana Bhakti is the highest. Nishkinchana Bhakti is the highest, where I am able to offer everything to Krishna and I do not have any material conditionings and I just practice Uttama Bhakti. That is the highest. However, because I have my attachment, so therefore I will continue fulfilling my attachment, but at the same time, over a period of time, I'll raise myself to the platform of Uttama Bhakti through the process of offering results to Krishna. And Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita very much. First 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita is very strongly Krishna says, do not be a hypocrite. Better to be a, what is that? What is that? Better to be a sincere sweeper in the street is better than a charlatan meditator. Very heavy. Krishna is very heavy in Bhagavad Gita. So bhaktas, they understand that, Krishna, Uttama Bhakti is on a very high platform. And so therefore, and I am trying, but it's very difficult for me. And therefore, I do not want to be a pretender. So therefore, I'll better to be a karma yogi. So at least one saves oneself from becoming an escapist, which is a greater danger. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita very clearly that if one is an escapist, that will pave the path to hell. So instead of being an escapist, better instead of being an escapist, better be a karma yogi. Sadhana bhakti is also
recommended procedure for sadhakas, which is not karma yoga. Karma yoga is different in the sense that it does not fall in the fold of bhakti, and prema bhakti is different, that it is in the sense that it is the highest level of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is recommended for sadhakas. So for sadhakas, as far as we are concerned, so we need a model, or we need a platform by which we are able to deal with our, because sadhana bhakti, the very, when we are saying sadhana bhakti, the very word sadhana sadhakas means that they are not pure devotees. They haven't purified themselves yet. They are on the they are on the process. So it will take some time. Enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. So enthusiasm is required, patience is required. So patience means dhairya. Dhairya means naturally the results have not yet come. So sadhana bhakti is the process by which there is an aspiration, there is a hope that results will come. So here we are dealing with the anartha of pujala pratishta. So how do we offer this? How do we offer this conditioning to in Krishna service? Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati very clearly says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati lauds Yukta Vairagya like anything. He is the probably one recent acharya. Of course, all acharyas have spoken, but he has exhibited it in a very he has exhibited it and spoken about it in a very uh, understandable and digestible manner as to how to practice it and how to imbibe it. So how do we offer these conditionings? How do we make these conditionings? And because these conditionings themselves are not fit to be offered, can you offer? Can we offer stool to Krishna? That's what is. We hear Nimai Pandit, Nimai Pandit, when Murari Gupta, and he was saying about Karma Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Mishra Bhakti and all that. He went and passed urine in that plate of rice. And said, so this is your bhakti. This is Karma Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Mishra Bhakti, like that. He said, it's in effect, that's what it is. So it's not an exaggeration when we are saying that, can we offer stool? you know because that's what the example which Nimai Pandit had shown. Little Nimai had shown to Murari Gupta. So it's not an exaggeration in that sense. But the process of sadhana bhakti is that these conditionings can be offered. That is the process. So the first and foremost thing is one has to be the sadhana bhakti. The most important criteria is one has to be always Krishna conscious. To always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is the most important criteria. All the essence of all principles which we follow is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So how do we offer our conditionings? Is there are 5 things which we follow. First thing is prayer. And even before following these 5 things, we have to acknowledge our conditionings. Unless and until we acknowledge, uh, will not be able to practice these 5 things. Many times, especially for brahmacharis, in their enthusiasm to practice Krishna consciousness, they don't acknowledge their conditionings. Enthusiasm is very wonderful, which we have to practice, enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. Utsahat, Dharyat, Nishchayat. It's very important that we are enthusiastic in our Krishna consciousness. But while we are enthusiastic, we should also be acknowledging our conditionings. Oh, I have these conditionings. and 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 we should meditate. Ajamila be here, how he meditates on his conditionings. Actually, acknowledge means we should be able to feel it. Acknowledge is not just theoretical. We feel the conditioning actually within boundaries, of course. Otherwise, that will go into another extreme. So this is the pre-condition that we acknowledge it. Once we acknowledge, then there are 5 ways by which we can offer the conditionings. So first thing is prayer. We can't actually pray unless and until we acknowledge. Otherwise, the prayer itself is, Ajamila we were discussing just now. He was able to offer such intensely prayers because he was able to acknowledge it. So first and foremost thing is prayer. So we were discussing the example of Ajamila, how he was so intensely offering prayers. So our hope, Prabhupada writes in one of the purports, uh, I think it is 6.1.62. Prabhupada writes in that purport that it's not possible for oneself to come out of material nature. The material nature is so powerful. It's extremely difficult for an ordinary sadhaka to be able to uh, cross over this force of material nature. Like that, Prabhupada. Someone can just 6.1.62. Can someone open it and give it to me? Because of the force of materialistic life, to maintain self control is extremely difficult unless one is specifically under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service. So it's not possible. Yeah. So this is what Prabhupada writes here in this particular purport. So it's not possible that one can, by one's own qualification, one can handle the force of material nature. When Prabhupada says it's extremely difficult, then it is actually extremely difficult. Next to impossible. So it's practically not possible. So our hope, when we pray, our hope is that Krishna will actually offer that strength to be able to handle our shortcoming. That is our hope. So that is the first way by which we can offer to, and this is the most effective thing by which we can offer our conditionings to Krishna. Second is accountability to devotees, because Krishna is there within us, within our hearts as Paramatma. But devotees are there around to be able to actually tell us what Krishna wants from us. Sometimes we may make mistakes. We may think that, oh, this is what Krishna wants probably, but that may not be what Krishna wants actually from us. So Krishna means Krishna and his devotees basically. So prayer and accountability. So the rest three things are as to how to deal with the sense object. So the third principle is the principle of renunciation. Unless and until we are strong in our prayer and accountability, we will not be able to renounce actually. It's not possible. We may renounce artificially or we may renounce for some time, but it will come back again. So only when, like here it is explained, only when we are strong, only when the strength comes from Krishna, then it is easy to be able to renounce. Like Parikshit Maharaj. Best example is Parikshit. Parikshit was able to renounce it. Parikshit, it was not his mistake, so to say. Some mistake may be there, some insignificant mistake may be there, but from a broader sense, from a broader perspective, practically there was no mistake. But he understood that this is what Krishna wants. He says, there's one verse which says that Parikshit says, oh, I become too much attached to wealth and property and all these things. Therefore, Krishna wants me to immediately resign, retire. And this is the opportunity which Krishna has provided for me. Saying so, he started fasting on the banks of Ganga and he gave up his body and surrendered completely to Krishna, like that. So the third principle is renunciation. Fourth principle is respect. Respect for whom? Respect for the object of sense gratification. Because renunciation makes heart hard. So we consider the object of sense gratification to be the cause of our weakness in spiritual life. But actually the cause is our own internal problem. Like when Pururava, he had a difficulty with Urvasi. So later on, he's offering prayers in 𝐂𝐻𝐈𝐍, which comes in 11th canto. His difficulty was in 9th canto. His prayers are in 11th canto. So one of the prayers which he offers is that now Urvasi actually, Pururava had a problem and Urvasi also had a problem. Urvasi also seduced him. When she was cursed, she came and she took shelter of Pururava and she also enjoyed with him and she betrayed him and she told very clearly, I betrayed you, because I had any higher prospects, therefore I betrayed you. She told very clearly, and this is, she says that, this is the nature of, woman like that. She says, the Pururava, but when he's offering the prayers in 𝐂𝐻𝐈𝐍, he is very gracious. He says that there is no mistake of Urvasi at all. Whole mistake lies with me. Because she he, not only did she not only did she go away, but she also advised him. She went a step ahead of advising him that this is how, this is the nature of women. This is what you can expect from, matter. This is what you should expect from matter. Like that, she had advised him. So therefore, Pururava very clearly says that Pururava says that he offers that he is very respectful to Urvasi. He says that there is no mistake at all on her part. Whole mistake is on my part. Like that, there is one of the prayers which he offers. So when we deal with wealth also, wealth in itself is not a cause of bondage. Wealth when offered, when inappropriately handled, is a cause of bondage. And wealth when and which actually comes from our own conditioning. So, but wealth, if it has the material object like wealth or property, if they are seen as energies of Krishna, then they can be, the one's perspective has to be that one has to see them as energies of Krishna and offer them respect accordingly. So, respect is very important in that sense. Unless and until there is respect, unless and until there is offering of respect for the object of sense gratification, that same object of sense gratification will become a cause of entanglement. If one does not offer respect, if one is hateful. It is said, na, aversion is other side of attachment. If one is hateful towards the object of sense gratification, then that becomes a cause of entanglement. More higher than respect is compassion. That is the fifth principle. One is respectful when then one understands the value of the object of sense gratification. But when one is compassionate, one has the capacity to be able to offer the object of sense gratification in Krishna's service. Like here, Yudhishthir, he was able to offer the whole world in Krishna's service because he had that attitude to be able to uplift the whole humanity from their conditioned state of existence. We see in the story of Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni, uh, he impregnated Devahuti and he fulfilled the desires of Devahuti actually. He said, okay, I am done now. I had promised you to be able to give some daughters. Now I have already given you daughters. Now I'll take leave. My job is over. So then Devahuti becomes morose. She starts crying. She says, my lord, surely you have fulfilled my desire. But then, who will offer me protection? Who will offer me fearlessness? So when Kardamuni could have renounced at that very point of time. He packed up his bag immediately. Of course, he didn't have any bag. He was just about to leave. He was just about to leave. But then when Devahuti offered this prayer, then he stayed back to offer fearlessness to her. And the result of his compassion is Kapila Deva. For all time to come, so many people have experienced fearlessness because of his compassion towards them. Of course, Devahuti also experienced fearlessness. Later on, whole Kapila Shiksha comes. So these are the principles by which we'll be able to offer our conditionings in Krishna's service. So sadhakas, they hope that Krishna will personally protect them and make their difficulties, make their shortcomings as offerings. The hope of sadhakas is, and whatever shortcomings which they are not able to offer, Krishna will personally remove them. That is the hope of sadhakas. So 5 principles we discussed: prayer, accountability, renunciation, respect, and compassion. Hare Krishna. We have some 3-4 minutes remaining. Someone has some questions or comments. We'll take them. We also discussed about pure devotional service and karma yoga, which are also ways by which we can offer our conditionings to Krishna. Yeah, it's our object of sense gratification. Yes, it's for object of sense gratification. See, As far as our, when we are discussing about Yukta Vairagya, the first and foremost principle for Yukta Vairagya is our capacity. Capacity to be able to offer something in Krishna's service. So we can't offer something which is beyond our capacity in Krishna's service. So all these, all the five principles which we have done, which we have discussed, they are all within our capacity. So if there are many things which we may not, which may be beyond our capacity, we will not be able to offer it to Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that anything material, any, it says that any material action, for a sadhaka, any material action, it becomes a cause of entanglement, like that. To that effect, I don't exactly remember what he says. But any material action, it becomes a cause of entanglement, like that he says. So our conditionings, our propensities and all, they can be offered in Krishna's service, provided we have that capacity to be able to offer them. If something is beyond our capacity, then we'll not be able to offer it. To bring it down in understandable manner, like for example, if we have to work for say 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, probably it's easier to offer it to Krishna in the sense that remaining time we can chant Hare Krishna and associate with devotees. But if we have to work for 16 hours, 18 hours, which many people do actually, it's not an exaggeration. And they don't come home for, 3 days, 4 days, 1 week, or maybe more also. So under such circumstances, it's not possible to, it may be possible, but it's very difficult to be able to make our work as an offering to Krishna. So it's beyond our capacity, basically. So we are paving the path for entanglement. So the first principle of Yukta Vairagya is that it should be within our capacity. Otherwise, otherwise the principle is broken. So if it is within our capacity, then all these five principles come. Then whatever resources which we have, whatever, so we want to do some material accomplishment, then we'll be able to, okay, material accomplishment for what? For offering compassion to whom? So these all questions come later on, like that. Yeah. So therefore we need to honestly discuss with devotees as to what is our capacity to be able to offer, and what is not our capacity, like that. Okay, so we'll end it here. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sorry? That's what I'm saying. The principle of compassion comes